I believe that Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore are overvalued prospects, and if you put Shedeur Sanders on either Indiana or Oregon last year, he would have been a lock top 5 pick in the NFL draft. First, just a couple of quick shout-outs. Eric Schoenauer, Andrew Novak, Jake Sedlak, Hunter Wilkes, Rebecca Funk, DJ Cafe Frog, Gavin Watucky, Neil of Neils, and Anthony Evans. Thank you so much for being Patreon supporters. That is all linked below, as well as this film study breaking down some of the tape between Moore, Mendoza, and Shedeur. So you can go check that out here. We can't put it up on YouTube, but that is up there for you to view. But let's get right into this. So we saw the Titans game. We saw Shedeur Sanders go out there, throw for 364 yards, be responsible for almost 400 yards of total offense, and score 4 touchdowns total. You don't do that on accident. But the fact that people are acting shocked by this just shows you how misinformed you might have been through this process, because you might have only tuned in to the coverage on Shedeur Sanders once the draft slides started, or once all these rumors started going on that it's like, oh, he's actually not viewed as that great of a prospect. I've spoken out against this endlessly. I made a video on why I thought Shedeur Sanders should be a first rounder. And that film breakdown was from pre-draft, before he was even a Cleveland Brown. So this isn't me being biased. That is just what I derived from his tape. And again, you're seeing these things in real time, and they're happening more and more in these games that he's starting in the NFL. It's not an accident. This isn't like some miracle coaching job that Kevin Stefanski and Tommy Rees should be getting all the credit for. Should they receive some credit? Absolutely. And I understand when it comes to Kevin Stefanski, people don't want that. I'll probably give it more to Tommy Rees, former quarterback, Notre Dame offensive coordinator. Like, he's extremely qualified in that arena. Kevin Stefanski as well offensively, but he's got his own problems. We're not going to dive too much into that. The point I'm trying to make is that Shedeur's always had this within him. Did he have things to clean up? Absolutely. I talked about that in my film breakdown. Everybody knew his issues. Bailing out of the backside of the pocket, sometimes hanging around too much, holding on the ball too long. Whatever. Rookie things that you get over, because when you see the good that comes the way it did against the Titans, that's when you see, like, good things are coming. We can get more of this, and we just got to make the routine easier. But why did he slide to round 5? Why were the Browns so lucky to get this guy in round 5? You know, I can't get into that. People have a million conspiracy theories. People have their own agendas that they try and push on all of that. I just firmly believe, the one thing that I do know is that this guy should have gone in round 1. Absolutely. If you put him on Indiana this year, or even last year, because they made it to the college football playoff last year, we're going to talk about that, or on Oregon, he would have been a lock top 5 pick because of what you see in the film. He had 37 touchdowns, 10 interceptions. Fernando Mendoza had 33-6 this year. Dante Moore is 24-6. This isn't all about stats. It's not the most touchdown throws means you're a better prospect, but Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore are being elevated in the conversation of Heisman voting or draft status because of the overall team performance that they have around them. That is what is making them so much more attractive. And again, I'm not detracting anything from Mendoza or Dante Moore, especially not Dante Moore, because as you'll see in this film study on Patreon, like, Dante Moore's arm talent is absurd. It is better than Shedeur's without a doubt. But when it comes to Mendoza and Shedeur, it's really, like, negligible. And you could argue that, especially because you're seeing it at the pro level, like, Shedeur is the guy over between those two. It's just a size differential. But once again, we will get to that. If you put Shedeur on those teams, there's no reason why the records wouldn't be the same, because it's not Mendoza being the savior. We're viewing him, or maybe not us, but people, the draft analysts, everyone else in the media, are viewing him as this messiah. They're viewing him through a messiah lens because it's Indiana in the college football playoff. But what you really need to understand is, like, no, this is a team on par, talent-wise, with schools in the SEC and all of the best schools in the Big Ten. Like, they're Big Ten champions. It's not because they did the unthinkable and Fernando Mendoza went out there and played out of his skull. No, he made 4 to 5 really great throws in this game, did his part, but Indiana's defense is great, and they have a really good run game, and they are a great team. And Curt Cignetti is a great coach. It's a much bigger package. It is not that, oh my God, Indiana's in the college football playoff. Mendoza, what a guy. It's not that. They are a great football team, and he is the centerpiece of it because he's the quarterback and he's having a great season. But this is not Joe Burrow at LSU. And even with Joe Burrow at LSU, of course there were questions because you're playing on LSU. You have Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase. You have one of the most talented college football rosters ever. But still, Joe Burrow threw for like 60 touchdowns. So it's different. You can see it's like, okay, like the talent level boosts your numbers up that much. What I'm trying to get at is that we cannot overvalue a prospect because of the team's success. I've talked about this at length with how NFL MVP voting works. It's never actually the best player. If it was, Joe Burrow should have won it last year, but Josh Allen won it. And really, you can make the argument that Lamar Jackson should have won it. And the year previous, when Lamar Jackson won it, you can make the argument that Josh Allen could have won it. But you know why both those guys won it in different years? Lamar Jackson and the Baltimore Ravens were the number 1 seed in the AFC the year he won the MVP. And it wasn't even close to his previous MVP seasons or the following season when Josh Allen won it. They won because they had one of the best defenses, one of the best run games, and Lamar, of course, is a very good quarterback. So he gets all the notoriety and he has the highlights to go with it. He wins MVP there. The next year, Josh Allen, the Bills, juggernauts. However, Lamar statistically better, maybe more wow plays, but Josh Allen goes out there. The Bills were higher seeded. That's why he wins that year. We're not being honest about what skews our opinions or what skews an evaluator's opinions. And we should have been looking at what Shedeur Sanders did at Colorado with a muddy pocket, making every single one of these throws that both Fernando Mendoza and Dante Moore makes, but from a dirtier pocket and with less help around them. Let's get into the numbers here for a second. So Indiana's defense is ranked around number 6 nationally. They only allow around 257.2 yards per game. They only allow 77.6 yards per game rushing. And they're second in scoring defense at 10.8 points per game average. Then you look at Oregon with Dante Moore. They're even better. They only allow 251.6 yards per game, 144.3 pass yards per game, and 107.3 rushing yards per game. Now let's look at the run game that they play with offensively. We know how a rushing attack helps a quarterback. That is the most basic football 101. Anyone's mother or grandma could say, oh, you got to run to open up the pass. It's a stereotype statement because it's the truth. You have to have a great run game. It takes pressure off of your quarterback. So let's look at the running attacks that these two quarterbacks have had this season. So Indiana, their run offense was first in the Big Ten. They averaged 221 rushing yards per game and over 2,800 yards on the season on the ground. That is what they've done in 2025. Oregon, they're second in the Big Ten, 218.4 rushing yards per game, and they've had over 2,600 rushing yards. When Shedeur Sanders was in college in his final year, his rush offense in the Big 12 was dead last. They totaled, this is total yards for the season running the ball, 847 yards. They average 65.2 yards per game, and their defense allowed 350.1 yards per game, 200 passing, and 151 rushing. Like, these are not adequate comps in terms of total team talent and performance surrounding these prospects. But we're lying to ourselves by saying it's just what's in the tape. It's like, it's not that. It's the ability to play in bigger games, the ability to hang and perform against bigger opponents. Like, yeah, Shedeur Sanders, absolutely. He had a terrible bowl game. Did you watch the film? He's getting hit every time he dropped back. He still hung out there. He delivered the ball. We have some of the clips of that in this film study that you can go check out. But the fact of the matter is like, you couldn't necessarily shine on the biggest stage because the rest of your team isn't up to snuff. You know what makes you look like a true first rounder? When you beat Ohio State. But how did you beat Ohio State? You shut down Carnell Tate, Jeremiah Smith, Bo Jackson, Julian Sayin. You did that because you have a great defense. you could run the ball to take the pressure off of your quarterback, and then your quarterback goes out and makes 4 or 5 throws that really wow people. But I'm telling you, we are seeing Shedeur Sanders make these throws at the NFL level already. And again, last time I'm going to plug it, go watch the video. You will see what I am talking about. It's on Patreon. Based on what we've seen from Dante Moore and Fernando Mendoza and Shedeur Sanders in his time in the NFL, if we take all of the filler out, all of the differences between talent, what do we really have in terms of our quarterback prospects? We have 2 guys who are definitely bigger framed, maybe more ideal for the NFL, but Shedeur Sanders is not a small guy. We have 2 guys who are perceived to have better arm talent, but I would really only give that to Dante Moore. When I look at Fernando Mendoza, I don't necessarily see the strongest arm relative to being a 6'5", 225-pound player. I see Shedeur Sanders with the ability to launch the ball deep, basically at the same clip. But truly, what I am telling you, there's not a throw, minus Dante Moore's throw against Iowa, which was so perfectly, it looks like he ran and handed him the ball. And you probably know what I'm already talking about, that one play at the end of that Iowa game. Other than that, there really is not a throw that has been put on tape by either of these guys that Shedeur Sanders could not complete. So I look at all of this and I look at the fact that in order to get one of these 2 guys, if you're not in position, you're at a minimum going to have to give up Jordyn Tyson or Carnell Tate and an offensive tackle. That is what you're going to have to give up to get one of these guys. So is that the smart move? I'm telling you, you have as good of a prospect as you will have in your hands right here, right now. The only thing that you're missing out on is crazy arm talent, but you know what Shedeur Sanders has that is guaranteed that these other 2 might not have? The charisma and the buy-in. Like, look at how he squashes the beef with Jerry Jeudy a week later. The fact that his whole team believes. Like, people are talking, being like, oh, they haven't quit on Kevin Stefanski. It's like they haven't quit on their starting quarterback. That is the difference. If it was still Dylan Gabriel in there, you would see quit in this team. But Shedeur Sanders goes out there and he inspires something at another level. The moment is never too big. Go and watch the All-22 film. Him hanging in the pocket. People saying it's just the Titans. He's still getting hit. He's getting demolished on these plays. But he is so calm and so poised. You just cannot deny it. And I'm telling you, the biggest piece of this is like when you see these great throws that Fernando Mendoza is making, it's almost always from a clean pocket. And I saw him make all these throws at Colorado from a dirty pocket. And I'm seeing him make them in the NFL from a dirty pocket. Imagine if he had the talent around him that Mendoza has or Dante Moore. So I really, really want people to take some time. Don't just think new is better or anything like that. Or even if he has a poor performance against the Chicago Bears this weekend, which I'm really hoping he doesn't, but it's going to be tough weather. And like the Bears are a really good team. I don't want people to be like, well, that's our sign that we need Mendoza. Because guys, I'm telling you, I don't think Fernando Mendoza is going to be on that level that you think he is. It's an impossible evaluation 1-to-1 because of the talent discrepancies, because of the run game discrepancies, because of the defensive discrepancies that we've talked about today. So we need to be honest about like, this is a guy who has room to continue growing, who gets the belief and buy-in of his teammates, and he's here right now for a 5th-round pick. That would be an all-time blunder. At least that's what I believe. So you guys let me know what you think below. Please, please, please go check out that Patreon video where we dive into this film a little bit more and go through like these throws that Mendoza and Moore are making, but Shedeur made in college and is making in the pros. So I want you guys to check that out. I was going to do a mock draft this week, but this stuff has been ruminating too much and I wanted to dive in more to it. The final thing I'll say, this is the final thing on Mendoza. There's always this phenomenon of virality where people look at like Kirk chains, Kirk Cousins on the team playing with his shirt off and he's got the chains around him, or Baker Mayfield, I'm feeling dangerous, or all this stuff, all this noise and whatever. And people look at Fernando Mendoza's post-game press conferences and they're like, oh, it's funny or like, oh, it's kind of cringy, but he's a lovable guy and whatever. I'm like, guys, if you produce, it's okay to say, I'm feeling dangerous. If you produce, it's okay to be Kirk O'Chains. The second you don't, you are just looked at as what you are. Annoying. And that, guys, I'm telling you, if Fernando Mendoza is doing his freakishly smiley, positive thing 24/7 as the Browns are trying to rebuild, that is going to get annoying. This like hopeful glee, youthful, boyish charm thing. It's like, that is not rolling with a full crew of NFL players. Maybe it is if you're winning, but that is going to get annoying. Like, imagine Fernando Mendoza trying to talk AJ Brown off of the ledge. There's a difference. Imagine Fernando Mendoza trying to talk Jerry Jeudy whining off the ledge. Shedeur Sanders is built for the PR. He is built for the interviews, for the question. And it's not because he's just entertaining. He understands how to diffuse things, how to keep a level head. And I'm just telling you, man, in that Big Ten championship postgame press conference or interview with Fernando Mendoza, I'm like, this is weird. There is a weirdness to this. He's like crying, but there's no tears coming out. And then he's like immediately smiling. He's only looking into the camera as he's saying everything. It's not normal. It's not normal. And these are things that you have to consider. Because 15 years later, you got Russell Wilson and everyone hates him because he was inauthentic. And I'm not saying that that's what Mendoza is. Maybe it is. But again, I am not trading what we have right now and what you see the high end can be for that. That's just me. Let me know what you think in the comments. Thank you. Check out Patreon. See you later.